What if the person everyone avoided was the one Jesus chose first? What if the invitation you think you don't deserve is exactly the one being offered to you? And what if the table you never thought you belonged at is already prepared with your name on it? It started with a simple moment. Jesus was walking. No grand stage, no announcement, just movement through everyday life. And then he saw him. Levi, sitting at a tax booth. Not just any job, but one that carried a reputation. Tax collectors were not respected. They were seen as traitors, working for the Roman system, often taking more than they should, benefiting from others' loss. People didn't admire them, they avoided them, they judged them, and Levi knew it. This wasn't something hidden, it was his daily reality. Sitting there, collecting taxes, feeling the distance between himself and everyone else. And then Jesus stopped, not to confront, not to criticize, not to expose, but to invite. Follow me. 2 words. Simple. Direct. No long explanation, no list of requirements, no conditions attached. Just follow me. And something happened in that moment. Levi got up, left everything, and followed him. No hesitation, no negotiation. He walked away from the booth, from the income, from the system he knew, from the life he had built, and stepped into something unknown. That decision wasn't small. It cost something. It meant change. It meant leaving behind a version of himself. But when invitation meets readiness, movement happens. And Levi didn't just follow quietly. He responded in a way that surprised everyone. He threw a great banquet, a large gathering, a celebration, and he invited others. Not religious leaders, not respected figures, but people like him, tax collectors, others considered sinners. Those who lived on the outside, those who didn't fit the expectations, those who were often judged. And suddenly, the table was filled. Not with perfection, but with people. Real people, with complicated stories, messy pasts, unfinished journeys, and Jesus sat with them, ate with them, shared space with them. That matters. Because in that culture, eating together wasn't casual. It was connection, acceptance. It meant you belonged at the table. And that's what made it so controversial. Because the Pharisees saw it. The religious leaders noticed and they questioned it, not directly to Jesus, but to his disciples. Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners? Why associate with them? Why lower yourself? Why be seen with people like that? Because from their perspective, holiness meant separation, distance from anything considered impure. But Jesus responded, not defensively, but clearly. It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. Pause there. Because that statement shifts everything. It redefines the purpose, the reason, the intention. Jesus wasn't there by accident. He wasn't unaware of who they were. He knew. And he chose to be there anyway. Because his mission wasn't to avoid brokenness, it was to step into it. I have not come to call the righteous but sinners to repentance. That's the focus. Not exclusion, but invitation. Not perfection, but transformation. And this is where the story becomes deeply personal, because it challenges the way we see people and the way we see ourselves. Levi didn't clean himself up first, and he didn't fix his life before responding. He was called as he was, and in responding, his life began to change. That's important, because sometimes we think we need to become better before we can be accepted, before we can be invited, before we can belong. But this moment shows something different, that the invitation comes first, and transformation follows. The table wasn't a reward for being perfect. It was a place for people who needed change. A place where something new could begin. And that's what made the Pharisees uncomfortable, because it didn't fit their structure, their expectations, their understanding of how things should work. They saw categories: clean, unclean, righteous, sinner, inside, outside. But Jesus saw people, not labels, not categories, not just past actions, but potential, possibility, future. And that changes everything, because it means no one is beyond invitation. No one is too far. No one is excluded from the possibility of change. The table Levi prepared was more than a meal. It was a statement, a visible moment of inclusion, of connection, of something new happening. And Jesus chose to sit there, to be present, to engage, not from a distance, but up close. That's powerful, because it shows that transformation doesn't happen from far away. It happens in relationship, in presence, in connection. And that can feel uncomfortable, messy, unpredictable, but it's real. Levi's response also shows something else, that when someone experiences real change, they want to share it. He didn't keep it to himself, he invited others, he created space, he brought people together, because something had shifted in him, and that shift moved outward. And maybe that's part of the message too, that what happens in us is meant to reach others, not through pressure, not through force, but through invitation, through creating space, through opening the table. The Pharisees missed the moment, because they were focused on the wrong question. They asked, why would you be with them? But the better question might have been, what is happening here? What are we seeing? What are we missing? Because something significant was taking place. Lives were being touched. Hearts were being opened. And the line between inside and outside was being challenged. Jesus didn't deny the reality of sin. He didn't ignore it. But he didn't treat it as a barrier to connection. He treated it as the reason for it. The reason to step in, to engage, to invite. And that changes how we understand everything, because it means the focus is not on exclusion, but on restoration. Not on keeping distance, but on creating pathways. Not on who doesn't belong, but on who is being invited. Levi left his booth, but more than that, he left a way of seeing himself, a way of being defined, and stepped into something new. A new identity, a new direction, a new purpose. And it started with 2 words: follow me. Simple, but powerful, because they still carry meaning, still carry invitation, still extend beyond that moment. To anyone willing to respond, the table is still being set, the invitation is still being offered. The question is not whether it exists, but whether we recognize it, whether we respond to it, whether we allow it to change us. Because this story is not just about Levi, it's about the nature of invitation, the nature of transformation, the nature of grace, and how it reaches people exactly where they are. Not after they've fixed everything, but in the middle of it. And that's where something new begins. Thank you for watching this video. If this message spoke to your heart, don't forget to like, follow the channel, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it today.